morning. I think the president just told you you had to do it better than that. Good morning. All right, good. She trained you well. How's everyone doing? Good. Are you ready? I appreciated our warm-up session this morning, which started out as yoga and maybe Tai Chi, and then turned into a Zumba class by the end of it, which I was not ready for. And I pulled both of my hamstrings, so I'm going to be very immobile on stage. Thank you for being here. My name is Anthony Poponi, and I wanted to tell you just a little bit about myself and where I come from. My expertise is in positive psychology. My company is called Focus on the 40. The reason it's called that is because about 40% of your happiness is within your control, and it's about the choices and actions that you make every day. One of the choices that you make is where you choose to work, or where you choose to live, and how do we get to find more happiness and even more fulfillment in the work that we do. So this is me. I live in the United States of America, and I don't want to talk about that right now because I want to be happy. I live in the state of Oregon in a lovely little town of about 115,000 people, a place called Bend, Oregon. Has anybody been there before? Hey, some people have been there. Great. With the rest of you that have not, you're all welcome. I have a small 2-bedroom condo. There's plenty of room. There's a fold-out couch. Today we're going to talk about how do we take some of these moments, these things like uncertainty, and make them less hard to deal with. And they come from my book called The Little Book of Workplace Happiness, that lovely pink color that some of you might know. And the book is broken into different parts about how do we find more fulfillment, more happiness, more satisfaction, more pride, more pleasure in the work that we get to do every day. And we deal with truths up front, and then we start dealing with some of the easier parts of happiness, like relationships and engagement, and dive deeper into leadership, trust, growth, and resilience, and then start getting into the hard parts of happiness, like toxicity and conflict and even burnout. It's all meant to be actionable, enjoyable for you to do within your team. Now, some of you are recognizing this color pink. In the United States, we have a brand, it's called Pepto-Bismol. It's for when your stomach gets upset. It's owned by a very large company called Procter & Gamble. And when I came up with this sticker concept and the idea of this pink book making the parts of work that are hard a little easier, I was like, I'm going to reach out to Procter & Gamble. And so far, they have yet to return any of my phone calls, emails, texts, and even a candygram that I sent them. So I'm still looking for sponsors for that. And I had this idea, well, if work makes us uneasy and work provides us with discomfort and work can be stressful, what other things could the pink stuff solve? And so in the United States, we have many challenges and many things that can upset our little tummies from time to time. And so I even reached out to Taco Bell to offer the new Peptalupa, which has Pepto cream sauce on it that will help alleviate what's going to happen 15 minutes after eating that fast food. Thank you for laughing. So where are we going today, and what can we talk about in the time that we have? First of all, let's talk about what it means to be future ready. And let's talk about why tribal diversity is team resilience. Having a diversity of team can help you deal with those uncertainties and the challenges that come forward. And then what does resilience look like, but what does it look like when we put it into action? And what are some of those characteristics of resilience that can actually make us stronger and better as teams? Then we'll do a small pairing activity at your table, so if you don't have somebody sitting with you, you can find someone to go sit with. And then the last part is, I want you to walk away with today with an idea about something that you would like to do differently, something you'd like to change in how you behave, and catching yourself in your old habits that have gotten you far in life because you're here, and what could you be doing differently in those moments of awareness? Now, the way that I would bring this to you is positive psychology is the study of human happiness. I'm not expecting you to be fluent in the positive psychology or that study of human happiness. But you know what fluency means, right? Fluency means having all of the expertise, the ability to speak it naturally. And we won't be able to give you that in the time we have today, but we can give you some language. We can give you some words and some understanding about those languages. How many people in this room can speak a language other than your native tongue? Ooh, very good. Now, for me, in the United States, they teach Latin as a Romance language in middle school, which wasn't romantic for me at all, by the way. Don't laugh at that part. Spanish in Spanish in high school, Italian in college. And so now I am proud to say that I'm the only person in the entire world that can speak Spitalian. Yes, I speak it fluently, and the only person that understands it is me. Now, you won't be fluent in positive psychology or resilience or any of these things we talk about today, but can it give you enough language to make you aware of those moments so that you can catch yourself and say, oh, wait, that's that thing he was talking about? And in those moments, can you choose a new action? And so if we think about this in this relationship between how you do things naturally all day long, just this is how you walk through the world and behave, until you learn something new. And in the bottom right for you is the word tendencies and patterns and actions. And so how do you catch yourself in those tendencies that you have and the patterns those lead to, and then taking a new action in those moments. And those little tiny small actions can add up over time. We know that. Now, we have a science behind positive psychology, and there was a tribe that formed to build up the science of positive psychology, and I'll tell you about that in a moment. When we look at the science of psychology, the science of positive psychology, we have acronyms. Is everyone familiar with the term acronym? Yes, you all have plenty of them in your industry, including IAPCO, right? When we use acronyms, they can be hard to remember. The acronym for positive psychology is PERMA, P-E-R-M-A, but nobody can remember that. So I'm going to make it easier for you today. If you want to be happy, if you want flourishing in your life, if you want everything that the world can bring you, you have to lean into some of those hard parts. That term is called flourishing. It starts with an F. And on the outside, each of the 5 facets of human happiness that we won't talk too much about today also start with an F. So I'm going to help you remember the acronym right now very easily. If you want F, all you need is I see some of you didn't get it, or you had decaf coffee this morning. If you want all you need is I almost ran out of breath, and they're going to have to clean this microphone later. One of the things that makes me happy when I think about my life, and even challenging myself, is to go to foreign places and to travel. So I'll be fortunate enough to be in Taiwan for a few days, and then I'm heading over to Japan to go skiing at Niseko, technically snowboarding. Don't hold it against me. I love traveling the world. I love seeing new places. I love seeing different communities. One of the places that I traveled to, I went there intentionally. I went there for about 3 weeks with the idea of understanding and seeing in firsthand what one of the happiest countries in the world does and how they live. I did a lot of research going into it. And then when I got there, I wanted to experience it. I wanted to go there and live amongst the people and see what it was like. So I went to the second happiest country in the world, according to the World Happiness Report. Where did I go? I hear Iceland. Bhutan, very good. Bhutan's a tricky answer. That's a good one. I hear Denmark. I hear nothing else. There we go. Sorry, what was it? Austria, very good. Norway, good. We're getting closer. Yeah, no, I think we have the correct answer on the floor. Who said Denmark? Ah, are you from Denmark? Yeah. Can you come up here for just a second? Yeah. We're going to do some improv with you for the next 20 minutes. What's your name, sir? Peter. Peter, there's a word in the Danish language that is the word for workplace happiness. You know it? Huga. Oh, that's the term for contentment, right? How about the word for workplace happiness? Arbeidsglæde? Arbeidsglæde? You know that one? See, his own language is that hard. Yeah. All right, sorry, we don't have a question for you then. Sorry, you threw that one at you. You can keep that microphone. Take it home as a memento. Please don't do that. Correct answer is Denmark. Very good. Give him a big round of applause for getting that right. This is an interesting little part of Copenhagen. It's called Nyhavn. When it's open, all of those little tents behind me have seafood restaurants all piled up along the side. Denmark is an incredibly bikeable country, incredibly walkable country. I had a really fantastic time getting to be there. While I was there, I had an incredible opportunity to go to the World Happiness Museum. Now, this is a think tank and sort of a research facility that shares happiness information from all around the world. We went to the Lego flagship store first. Check that out, my girlfriend and I. And then we went to the Happiness Museum and toured around for a while, checking out their many displays. It's in a tiny little cozy basement down in the bottom of this building right here. And that day, by random chance, my girlfriend and I were there when they were going to be coronating, what they do every year. The couples from around all of Denmark get nominated by their friends to be the happiest couple in all of Denmark. Okay? And while we were there, they were going to be coronating them and giving a little ceremony and having some prizes for them. And we didn't really have time for that day, but we changed our schedule. We took a late lunch and we hung around for the coronation. We got to go back. Think about this opportunity. Somebody that loves happiness, somebody that studies happiness, somebody that wants to know the happiest people in the world, somebody that traveled to the second happiest country in the world and is going to meet one of the happiest couples in all of Denmark. When we got to meet them, I will tell you, it was disappointing, to be very honest with you. I'm sorry for lying to you, and you seem very nice and jolly. Now, I did, in the middle of this trip, I was in Denmark for a week, and then I went over to Scotland for a week. And people in Scotland are a lot more boisterous, a lot more friendly, a lot more gregarious. And the reason for that, you might be able to distill it down to one specific thing, if you know what I mean. And then I went back over and went on this big bike tour with my girlfriend. And what we figured out, and what they know in the science, is that Danish people don't necessarily think of themselves as outward and silly and bubbly, things that we associate with happiness, but they are content. And that's a very different term than the word happiness. So content and fulfilled and satisfied. And I want you to think about what that might look like for you, because I don't want you to get lost in doing some of these things that I will continue to talk about as the hard parts of happiness. First is, if you don't have joy, if you don't have what we call hedonism or hedonia in the Greek, and you don't have purpose, you don't have eudaimonia or virtuous living, well, then you're down here, and you don't want to be here, you want to be up here. If you bring in just the fun stuff, things like, in America we go to cheeseburgers, and we go to Las Vegas, which I don't really like Las Vegas, and you can go to comedy shows or improv shows featuring Anthony Poponi, hi. Those are the things we associate with the sweet life. Those are the things we associate only with happiness. And if that's all we associate with it, then we're missing the other half of what happiness could be bringing us. Things that might give us delayed gratification that we might feel great about in retrospect, but we will know that they don't feel good in the moment. So I'm taking away some of your happiness pieces. Don't worry, I'll bring them back. If we add in things like getting degrees and certifications and developing mastery and getting promoted, or volunteering in your community and serving with nonprofits and doing charitable causes, if all you have of that, and then you just have the dry life. So how do we add back in the fun stuff, the things we associate with happiness, and then the virtuous things on the bottom to live this fulfilled life? And if we can honor that to have that fulfilled life, there are hard parts in it, and we can push through those moments to achieve things that we wouldn't have otherwise achieved when we kind of hit those moments of discomfort, those moments that we would call challenge stress or strategic discomfort that will help you move through those moments. One of my favorite books of 2023 came from Dr. Martin Seligman, who's one of the authors of this book called Tomorrow Mind, where they look at the facets of what are the skills in human beings that will serve us into the future. They identified five core areas that we can focus on within our teams, within ourselves, that will help us prepare for the pace of change that's never been like this in human history. Those five are perspection, resilience, innovation, social support, and meaning. Today we're going to spend time on a few of those questions. First of all, I'd like to do a live poll with you. So grab your phones, get ready to do this for me. We're going to pop it up on the screen for you and give you about 30 seconds to do that. That is not meant to be stressful for you. Don't worry, it's going to be okay. And the QR code over my left shoulder. All right, survey says, area that we are strongest, the ability to have, social supports and strong relationships. Really great. Science says pretty clearly that your ability to receive and give social support is really critical to your success, your team's success, and also your promotion ability. Giving and receiving. So giving social support means being vulnerable to ask for that, and giving it back to other people allows them to help grow and allows them to be vulnerable as well. In the pace of change that we're going to see, we're going to keep running into these sorts of changes, and asking for that support is going to be critical. One of the things that you're lowest on, leadership, guiding through uncertainty. Nobody chose this? I know this guy from the United States that does leadership trainings. You can talk to him after the session. He looks a lot like me. Thank you. Meaning and purpose in your work is very, very high. That's good. Reasonably high. Good. All right, keep those in mind as we walk through the rest of this presentation. What's really interesting is Dr. Martin Seligman, who again was one of the founders of positive psychology back in the 1990s, has said, we need to rethink about how we label the human being and the human race. As we think, the human race are called Homo sapiens sapiens, which translates loosely to being the wise humans. And he said, maybe it should be something different. Now, he was one of the first people to create a tribe of people, of psychologists that said, we know a lot about what's wrong with people, what makes people suffer. That's the industry or psychology in general. But what if we put time towards understanding what would make people right? And he gathered a lot of people to understand and develop even this term flourishing and apply the science to it to make us help us understand what it would take for us to flourish. He also says one of the things about Homo sapiens sapiens that's slightly incorrect is maybe how the human brain is wired. Part of that is that we might be misnamed, is that what we do especially well is prospect into the future. He suggests that maybe we should change our name to Homo prospectus, which has not been approved by anyone locally or legally or internationally around the world. And he says also that the thing that we should be doing is thinking about the fact that anticipating and evaluating possible future ideas is the cornerstone of human success. Our ancestors were always worried about the future because the future was always trying to kill us. Okay? The idea is to stay alive and to make versions of yourself, so stay alive and to procreate, which is, well, I won't use the other term for it. Google it on your own time. The problem is that this idea towards prospection was built towards a world that was really stable and was very certain and had very limited attributes that would change. And now we have all of these changes in front of us. And the pace of change is unlike anything we've seen in the workplace of today, and it's not going to get any better tomorrow, okay? It's always going to have change agents. What they developed or what they have found and what they have labeled is a term called VUCA. How many people have heard the term VUCA before? Oh, good. About half of the audience has seen VUCA. Can anybody tell me what the first letter in VUCA means? Volatility. Very good. You get a prize. Second term? Very good. Third term? Oh, I get to share because I know. Complexity. And what's the U stand for? Right, ambiguity. Very good. Nice job. Give yourself a round of applause. Yes. Most people don't know the term VUCA, and I think it's great that you do know it because it's something that's going to be in front of you a lot. These VUCA scenarios, which are hard because the human brain likes stable problems, and stable problems are easier for us to solve, and change keeps interrupting that, and change will keep coming. Chaos doesn't go away, it just changes form. Now, when we talk about how to build up a resilient team, and even tie it in with a theme, we are of a tribe, and what are these unique weaves and patterns that you'll find around the world, and especially here in Taiwan. There's elements of individual parts of this fabric that you see on the screen that come together to make it something that's functional and durable and attractive both internally, which helps with your retention, and attractive externally, which helps you attract clients. So how do we build these in our teams, and how do we recognize where we have these in our teams and where we could build up strength in these areas of diversity? First one is a diversity of leadership. If you know a lot about your team's diversity style, using Myers-Briggs or 5 Voices or using DISC inventories or any of the different tools out there, you can understand where your team is strong and where your team has weaknesses and look to either build up those strengths or add diversity to your team to complement the way that you think about challenges, how you lead through them, and even how you communicate about them. Second part of that is resilience. We're going to talk about what some of those factors of resilience look like in just a moment, and how to build those up. And what's amazing is the resilience factors that I show you not only are either inherent in you or not, but they can also be learned if they're not. There's skills to build each of these. The next one is expertise. We want to the more we have diversity in the lived experience and the expertise of the people around us, the more diverse and resilient that tribe is, that fabric is, how strong it might be, and how durable it might be. And the final part is cohesion. You can have these first three parts all together, working really well together, or working together, but without cohesion and without collaboration, they don't come together. They don't hold together as strongly as they could. When we talk about collaborative leadership, it's not only having a shared vision, but it's a willingness to bring all those parts together to solve those biggest challenges. Collaborative intent is really important. And if you look at some of the research out there from folks like the founders of Radical Collaboration, they talk about 5 aspects that are really critical to having these resilient teams work together and function together and truly collaborate. First, you have to have collaborative intent. Do you really want to collaborate with other people? Are you open to new ideas? Are you open to sharing? Are you open to being vulnerable? Can you hold yourself accountable in situations where you make mistakes? Can you go back and resolve those? That's trust building. Do you have self-awareness about what you're good at, what you're not good at, what your greatness is, where your blind spots are? And do you have the ability to negotiate and problem solve as a team without it causing long-term drama within the group? Those are critical to that. Now, if we can layer on top of that an understanding of what resilience looks like, this is a great slide that comes from Tomorrow Mine by Martin Seligman and Gabriella Rosen-Kellerman that talks about these attributes on the left-hand side that lead to resilience on the right-hand side. What you'll notice, they call this the noodle slide. What an appropriate thing for being in Taiwan. Noodle slide, and the way that it works is the thinner the little noodle, call this a pancit noodle or maybe a capellini noodle, versus the thicker ones are where resilience really lies. So these 5 attributes here, self-efficacy, optimism, compassion, emotional regulation, and cognitive agility, have been shown to be really critical in developing up our resilience. And again, they are either inherent in you or they can be learned. And you can teach them to yourself and to your teams. Now, if we don't have these attributes on our team and we don't put time and energy into building these up, and we don't know that it exists within us because we don't explore what our resilience looks like, then we can have a fabric that starts to fray. A fabric that can't hold up over through the intensities and the challenges and being beat up by just the normal nature of everyday life. So these durable fabrics are something you can create. And we could do that through adding in these resilience factors. Now, when we talk about resilience factors themselves, if we were to think about the things that actually have helped you, resilience is defined loosely as your ability to bounce back from setbacks. You've learned a lot at this point because most of you, if I can tell, did not get out of college yesterday or the day before last week, right? You have learned experience. That's called self-efficacy, your ability to build up those abilities within yourself. Now, I want you to think a little bit about where you've been in your career, and this will turn into something that we talk about at the tables here shortly. I want you to think about where you've been in your career, and think about the things that have helped or harmed your group in the past, and the things that have caused disruption to your ability to be resilient or to respond to those challenges. So let's put up our second live polling question. Let's see what y'all have to say to this. Maybe I should move my head out of the way of that slide. Interesting. Thank you, everyone, for participating. All right, let's talk about these very quickly. Economic disruptions. Okay, we've all lived through 2020. This was not a funny year. As a gentleman like myself that needs to stand in front of beautiful, intelligent audiences like yourselves, conferences were shut down. Group facilitation work for me was shut down. And it changed my economics really significantly in the way that I behaved and how generous I could be. I had to make some big decisions. I had to go from buying the really nice canned dog food, the wet stuff, the expensive stuff that was fit for human consumption, and quit buying those. Just buying the big bags of dried dog food that came in bulk. And then I didn't even have dogs at the time. I just needed protein, right? So that was hard. Can we put those slides back up? Sorry about that. Did I do that? I hit a button. But that one has come, it is not gone. And how that scarcity mindset that comes from these moments is an important way for us to bounce back. If we're always fearful about the future and we can't think about investing because we're always hoarding away money just in case the next disruption comes, we might potentially be holding ourselves back. Another one over here that I thought was interesting is leadership changes. Trust within your team and culture within your team and leadership and functionality and cohesiveness within your team is a living and breathing thing that will change over time, that will come and go, and you have to invest in consistently. The coming and going of humans is a significant change to this part. And this one was really interesting for me. I was interested to see that there was so much information about how do we make sure that people are both efficient and effective in what they're doing while they're working remotely and while we don't see them in front of us, and how do we keep them engaged as a team? How do we make them feel like they still belong as part of our tribe when we don't see them very much? Stacy today, who was one of the people helping me from GIS group, said, "Oh, where do you live?" And she said, "Oh, I live in Kaohsiung." And I was like, "Oh, that's 3 hours away, right?" Think about that. If you have teams that are disconnected and disparate and working in satellite offices or working entirely from home, how do they feel like they're still part of what's going on within your team? Okay, I want to ask you a couple of things to consider at your team. Take a peek at these items up here. This is our noodle slide again. I really love this noodle slide. And this resilience slide, and I want you to think of these factors that we talked about before, the 5 that are in bold. This is question number 1. Which of these 5 in bold is the strongest thread of resilience for you within your team? Where has it unraveled in the past for you? How have past experiences made you stronger? That's your ability to bounce back. And what has unraveled your team? Where, if you could think about it, where would you add in strength to the fabric of your team to make them more stronger or cohesive in the future? Okay, I will give you 12 seconds to discuss. Go. Go ahead, you've got 5 minutes.
Can I suggest? Can I suggest that some of you are sitting alone, that you move together with someone else so you can have some nice conversations?
Yeah, I think, hi. I think having you walk around. We'll give you another 30 seconds to wrap up your conversations. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, good job. I had a chance to walk around, as did Bo, and hear a little bit of your conversations. Thank you, and that you're still talking is actually a really good thing. I appreciate that you all get into conversation, start with a topic, maybe go on tangents, start even offering social support to each other. That's the point of getting everyone together like this, to have these moments to share not only pain points, but potential solutions. You know, some of the best information about how to solve problems in your industry are in this room. Somebody's been through that before. Okay, can anyone share with me, and for people that are willing to share, I have a copy of my book I'll give away, any answer to any of the questions here. It doesn't necessarily matter which one to me. A topic that came up at your table.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, Julian?
Thank you, Bo. Well, we dove into let's immediately go into the personal stuff. What unravels you sometimes? I think that's a hard question. It's hard to talk about. And what I thought was self-compassion is very important. Sometimes you are your own biggest critic, and from the moment you learn how to talk, you have this little voice in your mind that just doesn't shut up anymore. Yeah. And I think sometimes we have to learn to be a little bit more, a bit kinder with ourselves. And that makes life a lot better, and you can be more resilient if you do that.
Sure. Round of applause for that sharing. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I will say that one of those things about emotional regulation is that what it does to you that you need to learn to control over time is turning the volume down on that internal voice, right? It's okay to have those negative thoughts, to have those fears, to have those worries, but what happens with those is they dysregulate you and they steal energy from you. And what I mean by that is if you think about your brain as a computer, if you're giving energy to the best part of your brain, that's the supercomputer up here. It's your prefrontal cortex. It's your executive function. It's all of your cognitive thinking happens up here. The more you're worried, the more that you're hard on yourself, you're powering up the wrong part of your brain in the back, which is your limbic system. It's your reptilian system. It's your fight or flight system. And what you're doing is you're stealing energy to put it back here instead of putting it back here. That's also a big part of trust, because when we can get to the point of trusting the people around us, we're not wasting energy or time working on the people around us. We're working on the problems. You're very welcome. So think about how that might affect you. Thank you for that sharing. That was a really good one. Anyone else?
Okay.
Sorry, it's a bit of personal as well.
It's okay.
So I was sharing with the guys here. Very first job experience, I was 22, not in the event industry. I was working in fashion, press office. I have a journalist background. So I was really happy. I really enjoyed the job. They were going to promote me to a marketing position. So I sat at the desk of my new boss, and he said, "Oh, I'm really happy you're going to move in about 2 months to my team." And I said, "You know, Lapo, I have news for you." And he's like, "Are you going to move? You're going to change your job?" And I said, "No, I'm pregnant." And he said, "Oh, sorry, that changes everything." Oh. And he didn't give me the job. Yeah. So that taught me two things. One thing I said to them, and one thing they helped me understand it right now even better. So the first thing was I never regret the way I behave. So I would do the same thing today. And that taught me that was going to be the way I wanted to be with my team in the future. Great. You know, always clear, always honest. And the other thing is that, thank God I didn't get the job, because I didn't want to work for that guy, you know?
Excellent. Round of applause, please.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I love that one. And something really beautiful happened in the room, and I don't know if you heard it. Thanks for sharing that. One was, I didn't get the job because I told them I was pregnant, and a bunch of people went in the room went, right? That's a good thing. That's social support in a form. We can offer support to people in 3 different forms. One of those is through informational support. That's what happens here at IAPCO. Informational support is someone else has expertise to solve the problem that you need to solve, or you can offer that solution. That is incredibly important, and that's why these associations matter. The second part is tangible support. I was walking over from my hotel to come over here this morning, and Stacy brought with her not 1 umbrella, but 2 umbrellas. She offered me something tangible to make it so that I didn't come over here and my hair wasn't flatter than it is already. And the third one is emotional support. Those moments of, oh, I'm so sorry. That must have been terrible. Those things all add up, and they're really important in building up these tribes of these people that are resilient, that can share what needs to be shared, that can be vulnerable with you, that can ride the highest of highs with you, and also ride the lowest of lows with you when you experience those. If you have more questions, please, we'll ask those later. Share these at the break. I want to make sure that we stay on time today. So I want to tell you that we'll wrap up by saying, I'm sorry, but you have homework, okay? You're going to have to do your homework yourself, okay? This is my cat. His name is Lucky. You have to do your happiness homework. If you're interested in exploring resilience and getting to know more about yourself and more about your team, ask me for any of the resources that I shared today. I have tools and surveys and instruments to help you use these when you go back to work with the people around you. In extension of that, one of the tools that I will give you here in a moment for free, in exchange for just some feedback from today, is a tool that looks at those 5 facets from that noodle slide that shows how you could be thinking about turning one of those things, just one of those things into a habit that you could be doing differently than what you've done already. So you can scan this QR code. That will give you you'll get the PDF of that tool right there to use for yourself. And I encourage you, use it with your team. Share with them what you learned and what you knew, or what you've learned here at the session today. Now, I'm going to interrupt you while you're in the middle of doing your QR code scanning, which I appreciate, and I want you to do something with me together. You can finish the survey in a moment. I promise we'll come back to it if you didn't scan it already. I want you to put your hands up like this. Don't worry, we're not doing Tai Chi again, okay? And then I want you to take your finger and your thumb and make a little tiny space in between them. Now, in the United States, we would call that a ½ inch, and nobody else calls it a ½ inch, so we'll use a centimeter square, okay? Centimeter square like this. And I want you to hold it up as if you were looking through that little square that you made and point it up towards the sky. And if you were to be looking through that little tiny square pointed up at the night sky, if you were to do that tonight, you would be looking at 1/23 millionth of the night sky. 1/23 millionth. That is 1 divided by 23 million. It's a very small part of the night sky. What's really interesting is that the Hubble Deep Space Telescope, the predecessor to the James Webb Telescope, looked out into the universe in that tiny little space, 1/23 millionth of the night sky. And they opened that up to the night sky for 23 days and for 10 hours. Think how long that aperture, the little tiny thing that lets in light, just like on your phone, right, that quickly. It opens up that quickly, 23 days and 10 minutes. And when they got back the image, this is what they saw. In the deepest, darkest part of space, 1/23 millionth of the night sky. And in that image are 10,000 celestial bodies, and only about 1,000 of those are stars. So anything that you're thinking about doing will require this time that you have on Earth to be used wisely and to do it with people that really matter, because we get such a finite amount of time in this crazy infinite thing called space. And so I want you to be paying attention to that and leaning into those hard parts that come with happiness. And please work on those together. Support your tribe internally, within your team, within yourself, and within IAPCO to create that resilient team. Thank you very much.